Hello, I'm Pat McCarry and we are live in the Joe headquarters.
And I'm Jason Hennessy and this is the RugbyJOE Six Nations Corner.
Jason, I'm a bit bleary-eyed because I rocked right from Ireland, Scotland in an absolutely incredible game.
Yeah.
Took around 20 minutes to catch my breath and then went straight into the Oscars then as well. But not as bleary-eyed as I could have been if Banshees of Inisherin and Paul Mescal all won. So, it actually feels like in a weird way for me because I haven't slept that much at all. That this game against Scotland was days ago. But
it was only yesterday, Pat.
Only yesterday. But I was saying that Ireland have almost got to that stage where they're just so the deeds that they're doing are so incredible and you're just taking everything for granted now at this stage. I think Andy Farrell himself said the players were laughing in the dressing room themselves at half time because it was just, he said it was organised chaos, but it really was what it was like, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can call it organised chaos or you can just say potentially is this the most well-equipped Irish squad we've ever seen?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at within 25 minutes, you lost Doris, Sheehan and Henderson. And normally when that happens, you're looking at Doris, probably the form 8 in the world at the moment. Sheehan up there, probably one of the form hookers, if not the form hooker in the world. Henderson, a British and Irish line. But the guys come off the bench and straight away. Doris comes off. Jack Conan comes on, started all 3 tests for the Lions against South Africa. Then Sheehan comes off, Ronan Keller comes off, another British and Irish line, and then Ian Hennessy comes off, and Ryan Baird comes on, who's probably one of the most talented young players in the country at the moment. So you're kind of you're not worried at all. You're kind of, these guys are as good, if not better, sometimes in these situations, which is phenomenal when you think about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was only I suppose the only time we actually got a bit mad was just at the start of the second half, and all of a sudden, Kelleher stayed on the pitch, but you saw Van der Fleer starts lining up to take throw-ins, and I think a lot of us were maybe telling ourselves, is this a set play? Is this some trick? Yeah. Is Kelleher going to pop out the back line for a move or something? And then I think it happened again. We're like, something actually is wrong here. And then he came off as well then. And then the sight of Cian Healy was on the sideline practicing line out throws himself just in case he was needed to do it as well. And that's where it got a bit mad. And I think even for Ireland's sake as well, I'd say they really kind of had to. They just kind of buckled down for a few minutes, and it wasn't pretty, but they just held on. Scotland didn't score, and they kept going. But what were you kind of thinking when all this was happening?
I mean, look from the start, right? So I think Ireland, of course, started well, right? They came out on the front foot. Scotland, we had that incident with the 2 balls where Scotland used the second ball. We scored a try. Doris actually got injured as a result of that, but that was kind of a flashback to the whole Mike Phillips Wales situation years ago when they got away with that. With the quick ball, the extra ball. But no, I mean, for me, Scotland scored kind of straight not long after that, and I thought, to be honest with you, and I don't usually commenting on referees. I thought, if you're going to say a ex-player had a bad game and wasn't on form, I don't think Lou Pearce was on form. Lou Pearce is a good referee. I'm not saying he's a bad referee. He didn't have his best game. I think he didn't police the breakdown. It was kind of a bit more of a free-for-all. Yeah. He didn't penalise Scotland. They were coming in from the side. Ireland the same. I think he did not have a good game. And to me, it affected the quality of the game. And to me, I thought Ireland got very little from him.
Yeah.
I think Cog could have had 2 yellow cards in the game, to be honest with you. So looking at that, then you got these 3 quick injuries within 25 minutes. Then, as you said, second half, then Kelleher has to stay on. It was a stinger in his shoulder. The same thing happened to him against France last year.
Yeah.
So he loses power in his shoulder. Josh Van der Fleer, who World Player of the Year, steps up, but he's a back row.
Yeah.
Now I know I was reading there that apparently he is actually Leinster's option.
The designated,
the designated thrower if they do lose, like what Ireland had if they lose the hookers in the game. But he popped up. I mean, I think he only missed 2 towards the end when the game was over, but hit his first 3 line-outs. I know they weren't the flashiest of line-outs. Got that done. Then you've got Cian Healy coming in at hooker and winning scrum penalties. Cian Healy hasn't played hooker since Senior Cup.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you had all this adversity against you, and you still almost got a bonus point. You should have got a bonus point for that poor James Ryan drop ball towards the end, and even the Doris, not the Doris drop ball, the Baird drop ball then towards the last play of the game. So they came away with an impressive victory. 20-something points against Scotland away from home. I mean, to me, that's going to stand such a testament to them come World Cup, because this is the kind of shit that happens.
Yeah.
And lose players, you know what I mean?
I was kind of thinking, what does that mean, for Scotland in a way where, all these things went wrong for Ireland. You were at home, you had a bit of momentum, you had foreign players, you had Tui Tupelodo and Hugh Jones having great games. they were doing really well at the breakdown. As you said, they're getting away with a few things and coming in from side as well.
Slowing the ball down a lot, what they were doing.
Yeah, like a lot went well for them, but yet they still lost 22-7 and didn't really throw a punch themselves in the second half. And it was like, I was starting to think, like, did they tactically get it wrong? Like, once they saw that, you know, Josh van der Fleer was taking line-out throws, should they not have kicked more to the corners?
Yeah.
Like, and just really put him under pressure in his own 22. But I don't know, it's that thinking on their feet. They didn't really do it a lot. They didn't take advantage of Ireland's mistakes, and that's going to be big. We're playing them in a World Cup as well. Like this, like we got to be under their skin at this stage now as well.
That's it. Well, they weren't even throwing like jumpers up like against Van der Fleer, like when he was there, like, which, as you said, like is a bit strange. They weren't challenging, but I don't want to, like, I think it would be unfair to say Scotland played poorly. I think Ireland were under the cosh, and Ireland showed this is why we're the number one team in the world. They did it against France, they did it against South Africa there not too long ago, they did it against New Zealand over the summer. Do you know, I mean, like, a lot of guys stepped up, like Mac Hansen. Lads, this guy just something about him, I can't understand it, right? How is he such an incredible playmaker? He comes in and he is this second playmaker, but he's doing it off the wing. Anywhere you see him, he's there, and he's in, and he's coming in as that playmaker, and that second playmaker, like alongside Johnny or alongside whoever else is in there. And he's phenomenal. He's everywhere. Yeah. You know, that little double pump pass like towards the end for Conan. I mean, absolutely, his finish in the corner. I mean, that was not an easy finish. Like, that was as good as James Lowe's finish, like in the French game. So a lot of guys stepped up in that game. Keenan was phenomenal again. Yeah. Do you know, Peter O'Mahony was absolutely heroic. I mean, Peter O'Mahony, what has gone on 80
with minutes, this guy? Plus again from
That's
the guy.
That's it. I mean, like the Lazarus man, you know what I mean? Like, he just gets better and better. Andrew Porter played 80 minutes. 80 minutes in a test match. Six Nations against Scotland at Loosehead. And never, don't forget as well, he put the tackle in the corner just before half-time to keep Scotland out. I mean, Furlong coming back in after, how long was he bloody out for? And he played 65 plus minutes.
65 minutes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, looking across that team, like, Scotland will be probably a bit of a beeve that they had, everything was set up for them to do better and to win that match. Yeah. But Ireland, they're that bloody good at the moment, like, and I'm not just saying that as an Irishman, like, as Andy Farrell said, like, maybe us as fans as well, and as Irish people have to start owning the fact that we're pretty damn good at rugby at the moment. Yeah.
It was funny, actually, like you mentioned, there was two things I picked up from when Johnny Sexton was doing his in the post-match press conference. And one was, he was talking about Mac Hansen, and he was almost scolding himself for, like, the box kick where Hansen not only went and claimed it inside the Scottish 22, but then got an offload away to Sexton, and Sexton was like, I was getting ready to clear a ruck out, but I didn't think that Mac would hang on to it, like, and yet Mac was already thinking the next step ahead. After I catch this, I'm going to give it off, like, so that was pretty incredible. And then he was still giving out about that line out throw. Like, is that something now again World Rugby are going to have to revisit? Like, you know, because it was like, they took the line out throw and they were punished for making a mistake, but it's like, I don't know how many more times is that going to happen again. Like, it's going to be such an anomaly. But Ireland were punished for, like, Scotland were rewarded. It
should be advantage to Ireland in that situation, because it's them. They made the faux pas, as we say in Ireland. They made the mistake, and it should be advantage to Ireland. Like, but there's a lot of stuff. Just actually on World Rugby before we continue. Something we should be bringing up, which is an important point, is it came out last night at just before midnight. There's a press release brought out that World Rugby, now it's an option, right? But they're putting an option in, and they're asking all their unions to look at dropping the tackle light to the sternum. Yes. So they're calling it the belly tackle. Right, so it's not quite waist, so we're looking at around here-ish.
I've probably got a bigger belly to show people off here.
Depends on belly dependent. But we're like, I mean, so obviously, look at this is going to be across the community game and schools and amateur. So the same as that bloody controversial thing we saw with the RFU recently, but the way they phrased it was waist high tackle. But I mean, kind of funny that this comes out right after a very, very serious injury to Gary Ringrose. And Gary Ringrose got low around the belly and the sternum, but came in at the right angle. It was tackle technique that, like, we don't know. We're waiting to see how serious the injury is, like, but it was nasty. It was quite frightening at the time. There was a huge stoppage in the game. He was given a mask and taken off on a stretcher. So I don't know, Pat, I mean, do you see this being, like, do you see many options or many unions taking this up? Do you see Ireland taking it up? Do you see England probably obviously will, France already doing it? Do you see the likes of Ireland, Wales and Scotland adopting this?
Yeah, it's probably like if they're seeing the numbers. Think for Ireland as well, is like, if there's more playing now, like, you know, like if it's like the Aussies are doing it. The Aussies are seeing that there's people dropping off, and like, so if you're not seeing the underage numbers playing, you might be like, listen, we got to change this, because like you talk to most parents and they'll say to you, I don't want my kid playing because I don't want them taking hits to the head. Like, and they've seen big high, like concussion injuries and lads being splayed out like even Ringrose was there yesterday, even though that wasn't kind of a high tackle. But so that, like, the likes of the Aussies will take it on. The French sound like they're going to take it on as well. Like, I don't know. It might be this sweeping consensus, but they're leaving it up to each of the unions. The IRFU might just be like, we're kind of in a, I don't know, it'll take a lot of consultation, but at least it sounds a lot better than what the English did, whereas like the RFU just said, this is what we're doing, and they had to backtrack on it, like, so at least there'll be consultation, but yeah, we'll kind of see how it all kind of works out, but yeah, it is good that we're having like the talks about it, like, like it's eventually, because as we said, like, even we would have talks about it, like myself and yourself, or on House of Rugby as well, or even like on the Six Nations corner before, where like someone's going in here, they're an inch too high, they ride up, they hit someone in the chin, you're like, so let's just remove that, and like this is where you can tackle from now on. Like, again, maybe if with technology improves, you can kind of you don't want VAR getting involved in it or anything like that, but like maybe there's just a line where you're just looking at here, like it's a tough thing to kind of really get 100%, but it just, they are probably seeing the kind of the raw data, and like there's people who kind of like, even Ross Tucker, would be on Twitter and he talked about it. It's like the raw data's there, it's shown that like we're preventing injuries if we're doing this, like, so definitely worth exploring, but I don't know, it'll probably take a year or two to kind of really come out in the wash.
For me, look, Pat, I mean, like, you've worked with me long enough, like, and you see me on House of Rugby, I'm always very much a huge advocate for safety in rugby, huge advocate for kind of like, let's try and like make the game safer, make it a more remove these concussions. And obviously I did a concussion thesis and stuff for my masters, and it's always been a big an important area for me. But for me, I mean, you're looking at this, like this area here, what's wrong with tackling this area? So we're taking away a lot of what makes the game. So, I mean, what happens now, like when there's a situation where you're trying to do a choke tackle and there's a maul situation, or there isn't a maul situation, and what happens if you know what I mean? I mean, what's wrong with coming in and hitting a guy here? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I know it's because you're trying to stop it from riding up towards the neck and the chin and stuff. But, and also, how do you police that? That's when you're a referee, the referees already have a really hard job. We know that. How do you police kind of going, oh no, you tackled him here, not here? Or like how, like, is it millimeters? Like, are we looking at like this whole general area? Like, or if you come anywhere near up here, what is it? Is it a penalty? What's the sanction? Is it a yellow card? Is this? Do you know what I mean? How do we? It's just, to me, the game is already complicated as enough. Trying to cut this out and make it this way, it's just, I don't know.
I kind of like, I liked it in the way what they were doing with. It's like Super Rugby goes against it. Like, whereas like I liked at the time they were just like, all headshots are gone from now on, and they just always then seem to back away from that. Whereas they should have just pushed hard on it, like, and just said headshots are gone. Like, if like, there's gonna be more red cards, and you have to like it. Like, like if you don't like it, you're gonna have to lump it. Like, but they kind of moved away from that, and then they've lowered it even more again. Like, so I just kind of would prefer if they had just stuck to something for a couple of years, see how it worked out as well. But again, as I said, maybe they're seeing the raw data, and they're seeing the numbers of kids dropping off, or like, and they're just like, we have to do something before it gets crazy, like, so
just have to wait and see, Pat, won't we? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But look, we'll go back to Six Nations anyway. First up, anyway, so we've looked at the Ireland game, potential Grand Slam now coming up, right? England, we'll get onto that, weren't great against France the weekend. Like, we couldn't have hoped for a better dream scenario. We have now got England on Paddy's weekend in Dublin for a Grand Slam. Interesting one, actually. I noticed the commentator said it in Virgin over the weekend. We've never actually won a Grand Slam in Dublin. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, this would be like, if we do win it, it'd be the fourth, and that'd be it. Like, I don't know the old one. I could where the first one was won. It was one. I'm not entirely sure, but then the
back
one in
the 2009 was one.
Days, I can't remember where that was one, but the one in 2009 was one in Wales. 2018 was one in Twickenham. So we actually haven't won one yet in Dublin. So that's going to be interesting to see. And what an occasion it's going to be. Like, there's going to be a lot of kind of people coming over from England just for the St. Patrick's Day weekend as well. Like, it'll be a great occasion. Like, so, and Ireland kind of like, actually, even as we were speaking there, the squad came in there. If you saw me getting a little bit distracted there, so it's like looking at that. Like, what's the big news?
I think let's have a look. We have Dan Sheehan. They're both going to be managed, so they're not out of the squad yet. But they brought in Tom Stewart.
Dan Sheehan and who else?
Dan Sheehan and Ronan Gallagher. Neither of them are kind of completely ruled out now.
Interesting.
So, they just said they're going to be managed in the camp this week. Ross Maloney's in. And
that's obviously because Ian Henderson, we know he was in a cast, so he looks like a broken wrist or something there for Ian Henderson. So we knew he was definitely going to be gone.
Yeah, and Gary Ringrose is definitely out then as well. Like a fractured forearm, they said for Ringrose now as well. Like so,
Ringrose fractured his forearm as well.
No, not for Henderson. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
And then Keane Prendergast, was he in the squad already, or is he a new?
No, he's brought him back. He's fresh in now.
Yeah, so so maybe again that's back row cover. So you have Prendergast and Ross Maloney are the two new faces. Like so.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there we go. Like so, like what do you kind of think after the weekend? Like just to kind of like I saw Ellis Genge afterwards, just hands up, like absolutely, like we made a pig's dinner, that kind of thing. Like, what did you think? How do you think they got on against France then?
To be honest with you, I mean, I remember watching the game, right? And I remember they scored that try in the first minute and 40 seconds. And I was rewatching the game then this morning, right? And I kind of wanted to see, okay, what happened with England? So if you watch that game, right? So the first, we'll say 60 seconds, France get the ball, France are attacking, right? France win every single dominant collision for that first 6 seconds. Every single ball they carry is carried with intent and over the gain line. Now, then they kind of got a bit flashy, came down to 22, and Dupont kind of threw a bit of an offload that Freddie Stewart took. As soon as Freddie Stewart got that ball, they got a caterpillar ruck going. They kicked it from just inside their own half. They put a box kick in. France catch the ball, attack straight away, score a try. It's a minute and 40 seconds. That was their intent from straight away. So as soon as England got the ball back, as I said, just inside their own half, they boxing it. But France, all they wanted to do was carry and play and play and play and play. Yeah. And that seemed like that was the case for the whole first half. It was dominant carries, dominant collisions. It was all France. Like England, it's not that they played really poorly. It's that France were just way more fired up for that game. They were just, the attitude they came out was like, we're coming out here and we're going to absolutely bully. Yeah. And that's the way it looked. And to see an English team get bullied, it's happened a few times now in the last while. We're not used to seeing that in England. Yeah. I don't think it's a shock to the system for England as well. And obviously the big decision, that everyone was talking about all week was the fact that Owen Farrell was dropped and Marcus Smith was brought in. Marcus Smith actually had a good game. The problem with England that day was their pack. Their pack was absolutely destroyed. And you know yourself in rugby, like if you don't have front football, you can't win a rugby match. If the forwards don't dominate, if you don't win those collisions, forget about it. Like because the backs ain't going to get into the game. And they a couple of glimpses, like Freddie Stewart got that lovely try in the second half. A couple of glimpses of stuff when they got into the game, they did look well. But look, I mean, I know it was a 50-point game, like, and it did look like they hammered them. Like, two of those tries came towards the end of the game. Like the two penalty tries were late. Like so, I think the heads had kind of dropped. As soon as when England got their first try to get back into the game, as soon as France got that bonus point try after that, then the heads kind of dropped and two late tries went in. But look, like I thought, the restarts were interesting, weren't they? You see the bit where and I saw a nice little bit of analysis where England were just kind of they get the ball, we're going to go through the motions, we're going to go through a couple of phases, and then we're going to make a clearing kick, and then we're going to do that. But France were like, no, you're not even going to get the space to do that. Yeah, we're coming into your 22 and we're taking the ball off you as well. It was the attitude. Like it was the same. Look at Olivier's try. So that was the third try. That France had a scrum. Absolutely annihilated, pulverised the scrum, and it was clearly the penalty advantage was given. But instead of stopping and waiting for the penalty, Aldridge's like, hell no, we're going straight for this. He picks it off the base, runs straight through, and he could have popped it left or right if he wanted to pop it back inside to his back row colleague Olivier, and then forget about it. And there's just because England had kind of just stopped. If you look at the backs, because he just walks through. They all kind of stop, kind of going, oh, it's penalty. Do you know what I mean? And they're not switched on. So to me, I don't know. Steve Borthwick I think is a fantastic coach. I give him a bit more time, to be honest with you. When we get to the Ireland game next week, I don't expect us. I was thinking myself before I watched the game again this morning. I was thinking, Ireland are going to put 50 points past them as well. Yeah, but I'm not too sure that that's going to be the case. I think England will be a lot better. I think that game now, hopefully it'll probably fire them up a small bit. I'm still obviously open for an Irish win. Yeah. And I still expect an Irish win, to be honest with you, because it's in Dublin for the Grand Slam, and the quality that Ireland have at the moment, I just don't see them being beat. I don't think England have it in them to beat them. Yeah. But I don't think it'll be. People would assume Ireland beat France, and Ireland beat France quite well. You'd assume that what have to happen to the weekend, that Ireland are going to put 70 points on England. I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah, it's even there, at the. I was reading a Matt Dawson column he had for the BBC, and he was saying. He just said, he said Freddie Stewart is England's best player at the moment. He was good again, but he said he doesn't think England have any world-class players at the moment. And he said, Stewart is the closest you could say, but he said he'd probably put Ramos and Hugo Keenan ahead of him.
I suppose what is the world class? It's like, would you get in a world kind of 23 or something like that? So he kind of thinks that, Freddie Stewart, closest thing you have, and Mario Itoje maybe in the past would have been, but on current form he's not at the moment. Like, so it's kind of like, what is world class? It's very kind of like...
No, I think that term is so used, so like people change their minds so loosely. Mario Itoje is a world class second row.
Yeah, I
Freddie Stewart is
that.
a world class full back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, the likes Owen Farrell is still a world class 10.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like, I mean, do you know, I know it's an old cliche, it's enough, but form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah.
When you've done enough over the years to prove that you're this, that you are a world class player, like they're still world class players. They have plenty of world class players. I would call even the likes of Tom Curry.
Or
Curry's a world class player. Genge is a world class prop. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't read too much into that. Like, it's kind of like it's an English media thing for me.
Yeah.
They do it to their footballers as well. When they're good, like, all of a sudden they are the best team in the world, and they've got all their players are they pick a word 15 and it's 15 English players. But when they're playing bad, they just get on top of their players, their coaches.
Yeah.
It's actually, to be honest with you, like, you know, we're journalists now as well, and I know sometimes we'll give out about our teams, but I see the English media, like, they come down so hard on their athletes. To me, it's just a little kind of like, get over yourself. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, they come down on them as hard as the rain comes down on tin roofs in Dublin.
Yeah, pretty much. As you can hear that coming in here now.
My little joke there was the English media sometimes come down as hard as the rain in Dublin as well, and you might hear a little bit of rain here in the background. You might hear a lot of it.
A little bit.
We're gonna soldier on here like poor England did at the weekend on their way to one of their worst defeats of all time. Like, but expect many. I suppose like in terms of the game as well, like many changes for England and Ireland. Like, I suppose, like as we said, Ringrose and Henderson are out for Ireland. Ollie Lawrence is out for England as well. Do you think there will be many more changes than the obvious injury enforcements?
Interesting to see, because they brought out their squad today, and Lawrence out. They have Tuilagi back in the squad, so suspension is up. They didn't bring in George Ford, so that would tell me that they ain't going with the Smiths Farrell access, because they're going to want a 10 on the bench. Surprised if he started both his 10s in case something happened, or maybe he will start the two of them and keep Tuilagi on the bench. Or will he start Smith at 10 and with Farrell at 12, or will he start Smith at 10 with Tuilagi at 12, Slade at 13, or will he put Farrell in at 10 and drop Smith to the bench? He's got a lot of options there. It'll be interesting to see. In terms of Ireland, that's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, I would be of the hope and be confident that we will have one of those hookers back. So whichever one of those starts, and then obviously your footnote doesn't change other than that. Into your back row, obviously Baird will start that game with Henderson out, and then you'll bring, what you saw, who do you say is there that got brought in?
Well, Maloney's been brought in, Tom Stewart's in as well.
So there's a few guys there, so whatever he decides to put in the bench. If Doris doesn't make it, you're just going to be starting Conan there, and it's going to be O'Mahony and Van der Fleer at 6 and 7, and then the rest. There is probably a case, perhaps, for Jamison Gibson Park starting at 9 because he made a hell of a difference when he came on. Not that Conor Murray played bad, but there's a reason why he's been starting a lot of Ireland's games during this really successful period, is because just the speed of ball, it's insane.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, that's I kind of made it kind of like the team that should start. Yeah. And I kind of had Doris in the team and Sheehan in the team.
Right.
Touch wood. With Herring as maybe kind of like if we need to get someone in. But I had Gibson Park as the only kind of like tactical change, you'd probably call it. Andy Farrell hates to say anyone's ever dropped, so we won't even say Conor Murray's been dropped. Yeah. He's a bench option, as he kind of did so well over New Zealand last year. And that's it for that kind of game. I wonder, like, is there anything else we kind of have missed from England, France, or do you want to move on to the Wales-Italy game then, or anything like that?
We look at the French team. I mean, there's just one thing I want to say about the French team. Is just like, basically, like, I think France are back. I think we kind of were a little bit, people were probably a little unfair in them. The first few games, they were missing a lot of guys just because they lost Ireland all of a sudden, because they went 12 months unbeaten, and then they nearly lost Italy in that first game. Do you know what I mean? And then they weren't super impressive against us at times. But they've come back since now in the last couple of games, and particularly in that England game. I mean, Dupont has had a quiet Six Nations by his standards. By God, was he incredible again. I mean, at one stage, you see that 50-22 box kick off his bad foot, pinged into the corner. Some of the stuff he was doing was magical. Entamac was back to his best again. Ramos was incredible. Penno, fantastic. And Flamont, absolutely, like, this kid. This is the guy, I remember we talked about his story in House of Rugby last year, where
came from Loughborough University.
Came from nothing, like, and basically was playing amateur rugby not that long ago. He's probably their standout player in the Six Nations this year, and he was phenomenal again. Aldred has had a quiet Six Nations up until now. he was back the weekend and was showing
It's good
why
to see, yeah.
showing why he was a European Player of the Year. He was European Player of the Year last year, wasn't he? No, sorry.
He was nominated
He
for
was nominated.
yeah,
He was nominated.
yeah.
And he was a guy we were complaining that should have been in the
The
World Team of the Year.
World
Like we were
15,
going to put
yeah.
him, Sevilla and Van der Fleer in there, but he was absolutely brilliant, absolutely top class. So, yeah, I think I'd be worried that France are going to be seriously up there come World Cup because they have that it's on in France factor. That's the one thing that scares me.
Yeah, they'll finish it. Like, it's an interesting way to go. Now, this is like maybe this is in the days of being like not cynical or maybe just being pessimistic as an Irish fan as well. It was like they're on 19 points. France will probably you'll assume finish with 20 points then as well. Ireland are on 19. So like a losing a bonus points, they probably would need to get like the 4 tries as well, like that. But it's all out for the win, and I suppose as I said, you could take the biggest, ugliest win you can get, wouldn't you? Like, and you take that. Like,
yeah, definitely. Look, as the rain is starting to pour down here, we're going to finish up quickly, but have a quick chat about the Italy and Wales game. Obviously, that was one that I think, funnily enough, everyone was back in Italy for that game, just because Wales have been so poor. Strange to see that happen in the Six Nations. Italy go into a game as favourites. Yeah, it's been a long time since that's happened, but. For me, I'm not nothing against Wales. Like, I wanted to see an Italy win because it's good for the tournament for them not to constantly get the wooden spoon. Yeah. And the fact that it was on Italy playing rugby, I know they were missing Capuzzo, which is a big thing for them.
Yeah, big difference.
They had to put Tommaso Allen at 15, who isn't really a 15. He's a 10. I don't think he's ever played during the international. Yeah. So to me, like, they're, as it says here, they were their own worst enemies again. Do you know? Every single time they do something brilliant. And then at that last moment, they'd either throw a pass that wasn't on or kick it when you shouldn't be kicking it or knock it on or do something, just kind of overplaying. Whereas, like, we love the way the style rugby they play. It's class. Yeah. Very exciting. But, like, you can do that. But when you get into that red zone, then you got to think and you go, okay, now, how do we score a bloody try from here? How do we get points on the board from here? And that frustrated me with Italy, didn't it? Yeah, there were just, like, even the scores they were conceding, like, just kind of like... the Rio Dyer try, like, fair play to him, and he was kind of someone that we had tipped ahead of the championship, but it was just comedy defending from Italy at times then as well, and then stupid kind of like sin binnings and stuff like that as well. So it's such a shame, like, saying not only did they blow their own feet off, like, but they kind of took a good shot at the stumps as well, like, and even that Liam Williams try at the start, he walked through about 4 or 5 players, like, and I know Liam Williams is a strong guy, but he ain't the biggest of guys, like, you know what I mean? Thinking of Adama Traore just greasing his arms up, like, what was Liam Williams doing, like, to me, look, I mean, it's Welsh rugby needed that, I think. To be honest with you, they needed that win. Yeah. With everything that's going on at the moment, it might take a bit of pressure off them. I know that's a match they're expected to win anyway. Do you know what I mean? But an interesting one. But good weekend, enjoyable weekend. Yeah. Hopefully now on to a Grand Slam decider on it. When Super Saturday. It should be good, Super Saturday, and then we'll be back. I suppose Six Nations scoring has been great. We might even come back with like team of the tournament or something like that. But House of Rugby, I know, is back then the Monday afterwards as well. Like, so we'll have you covered for everything. So can't get away from us, lads. You can't get away from us. Hopefully the rain will get away from us as well. Like, but thanks very much for joining us, everybody. Thanks a million, guys.